Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kyle Watts. So if you're like me, you probably just picked up the brand new Sony ZV-E1 and you're looking for a few accessories to make this a better, more usable camera for vlogging and content creation. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at my favorite top 10 accessories for this camera, and about 5 of them are kind of must-haves. Let's get right into it. So Sony recently just put out the Sony ZV-E1. This camera has been designed to be kind of a vlogging camera or a content creation camera. So there's a lot of things I really like about this camera, but there are a few things that I kind of wish they did a little better when they made this. And a few of these accessories are going to definitely solve that problem. So my very first accessory for this camera, and my favorite accessory for this camera, is the cage from SMALLRIG with the silicone grip. So my favorite part about this cage is that it adds the silicone grip to the front of the camera because the grip on this camera is not great. It's usable, but it's very small. It does make it kind of tiring to carry around this camera a lot when the grip is kind of shallow. Plus my pinky just kind of hangs off the bottom, which I don't really like. So this cage absolutely fixes that problem. And another problem that it also solves are these little tabs that are on the side that hold your strap. They always kind of get in the way. They're sharp. I don't really like that they're there. But once you have it installed into this cage, it solves that problem completely. Let's put this thing in real quick. So putting this cage in is pretty easy. It just has a couple connections up top here, and it has a screw on the bottom. They do give you the Allen wrench that does magnet to the bottom as well. All right, so now that we have this cage installed on the camera, you'll notice right away how significantly better the grip is and how much deeper it is. So you can really just get your hand in there. Plus, my pinky is now on the bottom, still on the camera, which really is nice for me. So we can kind of compare real quick here to the A7 IV, and you can kind of see that the grip is very deep, just like the A7 IV. So you're getting a very comparable grip to something like the A7S III or A7 IV. So this is absolutely my favorite accessory. And then also on the bottom, one really cool hidden feature of this is the bottom is actually an Arca Swiss plate. So if you have different tripods or different mounts that use Arca Swiss plates, you don't have to add anything now to this camera because it is an Arca Swiss plate. So that brings us to my second most used accessory on this list, and that's handheld tripods. My favorite one is this ULANZI MT47 with an Arca Swiss plate. So like I said before, now we have an Arca Swiss plate. You can pop that thing right on there and it's good to go. So now you have this really cool tripod you can set down on tables. The cool thing with this tripod is it does expand out like a selfie stick. So now you can get different heights. This is actually a really good height if you're doing like sit down talks at the table. This tripod does have an adjustable ball head, so you can actually tilt this thing forward. You can collapse the bottom, and now you can walk around as a selfie stick. And this is a very good handheld tripod for that. When you're done, all you have to do is flip open the bottom here, set it down on the table, adjust it. So this is my favorite one. I used to use a lot of the Joby 5K GorillaPods. The only thing with those is that just like everyone else, they fail. The balls get loose, they fall over. They just are too big and too cumbersome. This thing folds down really small, really nicely in a bag. So this is by far my favorite handheld tripod that you would use for this camera. Now they do make this tripod in two different versions. They have one that has the regular Arca Swiss plate on the top, and then they have one that has the Fallcam quick release plate, which is the Fallcam F38. I would recommend getting this one instead, because if you want to add that quick release later, all you have to do is buy the like quick release adapter, which also is Arca Swiss, so you can fit that thing like right in there anyways, and then you have that kind of quick release system built in. So that's what I would recommend doing. So if you want to take a look at the Fallcam F38 plates, I think these things are like 26 bucks for the older versions, and I think like $35 now for the new version. So this tripod I think is about $49. If you do get the quick release one built in, I think that's like $56, and that's all USD. Now I do highly recommend these Fallcam quick release systems. I have about 6 of these now, and they are literally on every single one of my tripods, my gimbals, everything I use Arca Swiss on now. I've switched over to these Fallcam F38 systems. So do check that out as well. So one other tripod that I do bring with me a lot when I travel, it's these kind of mini travel tripods. This specific one is from Sea-Ray. They have different versions of these things from different companies. This is the one I personally like. I'll put the link in the description for this one. But they do have one from ULANZI. There's a SMALLRIG one. There's the Peak Design one if you really want to spend that much money. But you can get a lot of different travel tripods, anywhere from like 50 bucks all the way to like $400, depending on how much you want to spend. For me, I got a carbon fiber one because this is super light and it's super compact, but this thing still gets about this tall when you're filming. So it's really good for when you want to go to a location, set your camera down and kind of talk to the camera. So I'd highly recommend also getting a kind of travel tripod. All right, so obviously you're going to have to use a lens for this camera to actually shoot content. My favorite lens that I use every day is the Sony G Master 16-35. There are two versions of this lens now. For me, this has just kind of been my go-to lens. It's my favorite lens. That 16 is very wide for vlogging, and that 35mm is a very good focal length for doing kind of B-roll and other zoomed in shots. There's lots of lenses you can use for this camera. There's the Sigma 16-28, there's the Tamron 17-28, there's the Sigma 24-70. There's lots of different options you can use, and you have to just kind of find out which lens is going to work best for the style of content that you make. So if you are just shooting kind of vlogs and things like that, I would kind of recommend the wide to kind of mid-range lenses. Now, if you are doing very like versatile all-around style content, I would also take a look at the like Tamron 28-200. This is a variable lens, so it does go from a 2.8 all the way to a 5.6, but this lens is going to get you covered for like most focal ranges you're going to ever want to use for this camera. So the camera itself with that digital zoom can kind of like double the focal range of a lens. So that's why I really like these mid-range lenses, because this 35 with a 2x zoom can now be like a 70. So if you guys kind of are on a budget and you don't want to spend like $2,300 on a lens, I would definitely take a look at that like Sigma 16-28. I did a review on that lens. It's up here. That lens is a very good lens. It's very sharp, and it's still an f2.8. Not to mention that that lens is very small and lightweight, which is a very good pair for this camera. All right, so moving to number 4 on this accessory list, that's going to be external microphones. This camera does have an improved microphone capsule on the top. It does have that kind of cool auto forward or back sensor on it. But honestly, I just still don't like how it sounds. It's getting better every time they put out a new camera, but it's, to me, just not good enough. And it does pick up a lot of background and side noise. So personally for me, getting an external microphone is kind of a must-have. So for me, the microphones that I literally use every time I go out and shoot now are these Sony ECM microphones. These things are kind of expensive, but what makes these really cool is they have the digital hot shoe, so they just literally slide into the hot shoe of the camera. You twist them down, you can flip that switch into auto, and now you don't have to adjust any of the volume settings in your camera. It does all that work for you. So this microphone kind of has like a compressor or like a limiter built into it. So what that really means is it's going to literally lift all your audio levels up to that loudest point that it can be, and then it won't clip. That's what I really like about these microphones, is they actually kind of limit the clipping, so you never really get too loud with them. But that auto mode is really awesome. I really like not having to ever think about setting my audio levels, because I've done that in the past where you film a video, you get back and you realize you didn't have the volume loud enough, so now you have to go reshoot a whole video. So these things come in at like $349 each. There's the ECM B1M and there's the ECM M1. So for me, that $349 price tag is absolutely worth it, because I don't like having to set my camera's audio levels ever. I don't ever have to think about it. So those microphones are really expensive. So if you're looking for a different alternative that's definitely cheaper, I would absolutely just look at the Rode Go 2. This microphone's $99. It's very small, it's compact, it sounds really good. This microphone actually sounds very similar to the Rode NTG video mic. That's the microphone we're actually using right now to film this video. That microphone's about $300, this one's $100. So that's also why I recommend this for this camera, is because it is a very compact microphone and it does sound really good. So I highly recommend getting this microphone if you're not looking to spend like $300 on a microphone. So if you are looking for just a wireless system, I'm just gonna save you time and trouble. Just go get the DJI wireless microphone. This set is awesome. It's a good wireless system for your camera. You can use it with your cell phone. In fact, you don't even have to actually plug this into anything. You can literally just take the microphone out, hit record on the microphone, and then just speak to it. This is also just like a voice recorder, so you can plug it in your computer and get the audio off it later. I would highly recommend this set if you're looking for a wireless system. So for me, external microphones on this camera are an absolute must-have. All right, so moving to number 5 on this list, which is also a must-have, that is going to be a battery charger and extra batteries. So when you picked up this camera, you'll probably notice when you open the box that there was no battery charger that came with this camera. In fact, it didn't even come with a charging cable, which is absolutely ridiculous that Sony did that. So my number 5 accessory is just going to be getting a battery charger and some like extra batteries for the camera. So as far as battery chargers are concerned, there's lots of different versions out there that you can get. You can get the actual one straight from Sony. This is a single battery charger that plugs in through just kind of a regular cable. I think this one's like $100, so it's pretty pricey, and you can only charge one battery at a time, which is a little limiting. So I would probably recommend not necessarily getting the Sony battery charger, because it is a little expensive, and like I said, it only charges one battery at a time. And I would probably just get something like this dual battery charger. Some of these even come with extra batteries itself. So I think these can be anywhere from like $25 all the way to like $80, depending on if you get batteries or not with them. So this allows you to charge 2 batteries at once, and it has like a gauge on there to tell you how full they are. So I would recommend getting one of these. For me, this is an absolute must-have, because you have to charge your batteries before you go out and shoot. So speaking of batteries, there are a lot of third-party batteries out there. I think this one actually did come with 2 batteries from third-party, but I would highly still recommend going with Sony batteries, just because Sony batteries are always going to last you longer. They're always going to work a little better. They're not going to die as quick. And quite honestly, I was getting the warning sign with my A7S III. Anytime I put a third-party battery in that camera, it would always give me a warning saying that this is not an authentic Sony battery. You can always hit OK and move past that. It just got really annoying. So since they are kind of expensive, I would say pick one up now. Maybe in a few weeks, get another one. Maybe another month down the road, get a third one. But I will say these Z batteries, though, they do last quite a long time in these cameras. So, all right, so moving to number 6 on our list, that is an absolute must-have for this camera, and that is SD cards. So obviously you need to have an SD card in the camera to record anything too. For me, I personally only use V90 cards now. You can get V60 cards for this camera, which will allow you to record like 10-bit footage. And I think it'll allow you to record 60 frames per second in like the S&Q mode. But for me, I shoot a lot of 120 frames per second in S&Q, and you need to have a V90 card to do that. Now you can record 120 frames per second, I believe, in regular modes with a V60 card, but if you want to use S&Q, you need a V90 card because it needs to be able to have that speed of a card to record that data. So I would highly recommend just skipping the V60s and go right to V90s. And personally, the ones I use are these Lexar V90 cards. I personally have like 6 of these because I have lots of projects that I'm always working on. I don't like to delete my cards until I'm done with a project, so that's why I own a bunch. But these cards are about 120 bucks each. I would recommend getting the like 128 gigabyte cards. But yeah, I would highly recommend getting the V90 Lexar or Pro grade cards just because they're going to be a lot less expensive than the like Sony Tough cards. But like I said, you will need a V90 card or a V60 card to run any of the like 10-bit and like slow motion with this camera. So that's kind of an absolute must-have. And then if you want to put these in a case, this is just a cheaper case. It's from JJC. I think this was like $9, $10. So once again, I put all the links down below, you guys. So if you need to find any of these products, you can find them there. All right, so moving to number 7 on my list, and this one's also an absolute must-have. That's an $8 purchase. It's a screen protector for the LCD screen on the back of the camera. So for me, the purpose I use this for is that I wear a lot of like polarized sunglasses, and for some reason on this screen, when you're wearing polarized sunglasses and you're outside filming, the screen kind of like darkens, and so you can't really like see what's going on because it's doing something with the polarization in your glasses and the screen. But for some reason, when you put the screen protector on in front of the screen, it just eliminates that. I don't know why it does it, but it gets rid of that kind of darkening, polarizing effect. So that's the number 1 reason why I put the screen protector on these screens. Number 2, yeah, you don't want to scratch your screen up. You want to keep it in good condition, especially since you're touching it all day long because it's a touch screen. There's lots of modes you can do. These fingerprint a little less, I think, than the screen itself does. So absolute must-have. It's like an $8 purchase. Just go and buy one of these. In fact, I literally have this same set on every one of my cameras because same thing. It cuts out that polarization when you're wearing glasses. All right, so the number 8 accessory on my list, in fact, this probably should just be higher because this is a very important thing. Every time I go outside and shoot, I'm always using an ND filter. I like shooting in lower apertures like f2.8. I like having that blurry background. But with this camera, unless you really bring up that shutter speed, it's going to be incredibly overexposed. So if you want to shoot in a low aperture and have the correct shutter speed, you're going to need to have something that's in front of the lens that's going to darken the image. And that's what ND filters do. Personally, these are actually variable ND filters. So it's going to go from 2 stops to 5 stops, or 6 stops to 9 stops, depending on which set you get. So personally, the ND filter that I use the most is this Polar Pro Peter McKinnon variable ND filter. I just like how easy it is to use. I like the case that comes with it. It's a good quality glass. It doesn't give me any color cast. So that's kind of been my go-to for this one. But a very good second runner-up is the Freewell system. The Freewell one is going to be also 2 to 5, 6 to 9. There's very minimal color cast. There's no cross polarization. So Freewell would be my like second choice. In fact, I use this on my second camera when I have this one on this one. The Freewell systems come in at like $99 each. The Polar Pro one's like $249. So if you want to save some money, check out the Freewell one. But if you guys are planning on shooting any content outside, ND filter is an absolute must-have for this camera. All right, so moving to the 9th accessory on this list, that is going to be the ULANZI cooling fan. You guys have all heard the rumors. This camera apparently overheats like crazy. I personally have not had any overheating issues with this camera. I was even outside shooting in the middle of Orlando in about 100-degree weather for all day, and I never had a single time that I even got the warning light on this camera. So everyone maybe has different experiences with the camera, but for me, I haven't actually had any overheating issues yet. Now, I haven't sat down and filmed like an hour-long talking head yet with this camera, so maybe there'll be some situations where if you're filming long shots, doing talking head scenes, that it could overheat. That's where this fan comes into play. So this fan is actually pretty clever. They give you kind of like a glossy sticker to stick on the back of the camera, and then it just has like little suction cups on the back of this fan. So you literally just kind of take it out and pop it straight on there and press it down. And now you have a fan built into the back of your camera. So it's got 3 different settings. It's off, it's got setting 1 and setting 2, and those just correspond to the speed of the fan. So you can turn it to setting 1 or setting 2. It's fairly quiet, like I don't know if you can hear this. It may be slightly there, but if the microphone's pointing forward on your camera, this is never gonna pick up on your audio. So it's very quiet. So I'll be doing another video kind of testing this product to see how much longer you can get out of the camera before it overheats, if it does overheat at all. But if you guys are worried about the overheating issue on this camera, this is maybe a small fix that's going to help that. All right, so moving to my 10th accessory for this camera, it's actually a little bit less of an accessory for the camera and a little bit more of an accessory for you while using the camera, and that is this awesome sling bag from NOMATIC. So normally I always take out my camera bag when I go shooting, and I always load it up with everything I own, it seems like, and I have to carry around this heavy backpack all the time, which is nice sometimes if you do need the extra stuff. But when you're just having a setup like this, where you have like your camera, like a tripod, and your microphones and stuff, this is the perfect bag for that. Now, when I first got this, I thought for sure this was never going to be able to hold what I wanted to put in here. But realistically, this bag has been my favorite bag recently. I can get my camera with the 16-35 on in here. I can put a second lens in this spot. I can put my microphones and my batteries all in the front pocket. In fact, there's actually like a little pouch on the inside that allows you to put batteries in there, but it works really well also to kind of stick my ECM microphone in there. You can put your filters in there. I can get so much stuff in this bag that I never thought would fit and still close it up. And now I don't have to carry around a big backpack. I just carry around the sling, which is quite a bit more minimal, especially if you're going to places where you don't want to just have a big backpack all day long. So this has been really nice. And what I also really love about this is it has this cool little elastic strap in here. So if you open it up and you're shooting, and you don't want to like zip it back up, you can just kind of pull this closed, and now it stays closed with this little strap on top. So that's a really fun feature. On the bottom, you can add straps to hold like a regular tripod or a travel tripod. But this thing fits literally my extra batteries, my lenses, my separate lens, my microphone, my handheld tripod. It fits everything in this bag, and it fits it quite nicely. And this one's not too expensive, but it is very water resistant. It's a very comfortable bag. I would highly recommend taking a look at this product if you guys are doing a lot of content creation where you're kind of on the go all the time. So, and for me, I can also fit all these kind of random accessories that I bring with me all the time. Like I do have this little clamp magic arm. So if you want to clamp this to like a pole and walk up to stuff and vlog, if you don't want to carry a tripod, that's a really cool thing to have in your bag. Camera straps or like wrist straps if you're shooting like POV videos. I always have like a wrist strap. Camera straps itself, you know, you can carry all the stuff in here. Oh, and if you guys don't have this in your backpack, always carry one of these with you. This is my little like multi-tool from SMALLRIG. This thing has like a Phillips screwdriver, flathead, a bunch of Allen wrenches. It's a very good thing to keep in your backpack. It's small, compact. So I always carry something like that with you. So, all right, you guys, so that's my accessory list for the Sony ZV-E1. There is one item that I kind of left out of this accessory list, and that's gimbals. But honestly, this camera with that dynamic stabilization, I find it really hard to want to necessarily recommend a gimbal for this camera. If you're doing a lot of handheld stuff, that dynamic stabilization, it's just so good that it almost eliminates entirely the need for a gimbal. Now, there are going to be times where you might want to use a gimbal with this camera, and that's going to be for like production stuff or like wedding videography, or if you're like running alongside of a car or a person, then yes, you will probably need a gimbal for that because the dynamic stabilization does get a little wonky when you move the camera a lot. So if you are doing some more production heavy stuff that you are going to need a gimbal for, I would recommend getting like the ZHIYUN WEEBILL 3S. This is a very good gimbal for this camera because it's kind of in the middle of being a small gimbal and like a big gimbal, and it'll handle anything that you put at it. So yeah, the ZHIYUN WEEBILL 3S, give me a good gimbal for that. But if you are just doing a lot of handheld stuff, like that dynamic stabilization's got you covered. So All right, guys, so hopefully some of these items are going to just help you out with vlogging, content creation, and just kind of having an overall higher quality product when you're finished. If you guys have any questions, please leave me a comment down below. Like I said before, all of these items are going to be listed in the description below. And if you guys want to follow along to other ZV-E1 content, please hit that subscribe button down below. As always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Later.